Hey y'all. Okay. So, if you would like to purchase an anti-status, a tee, or any of my merch, make sure you go ahead and click the link below in my bio. So, let's go ahead and jump right into this story. So, right after everything we saw in 2020, right after all of the protests and rioting that ensued after the death of George Floyd, even after the call for defunding the police all 2020, here we are going into 2020. Well, we're in 2021, and not only are these police departments not defunding their police, they are in fact, particularly in Chicago, this uh, Mayor Lori Lightfoot has used COVID relief money that was supposed to go towards COVID relief for the ramping up of policing. Let's go ahead and take a look at this, and then we're going to talk about it. So let's start off with this article from MSN.com, which came from the Chicago Tribune. Activists hammer Mayor Lori Lightfoot for spending $281.5 million in federal COVID-19 money on Chicago police payroll. Mayor Lori Lightfoot's decision to use $281.5 million in federal COVID-19 relief funds to cover Chicago Police Department payroll costs during the early months of the pandemic drew an angry rebuke Thursday from activists and aldermen who said the money could have instead provided badly needed housing, health care, and business lifelines to struggling residents. During a news conference organized by the United Working Families political organization, community organizers laid out what they said would have been more worthy uses of the money. Amika, executive director of Black Lives Matter Chicago, said myriad grassroots outreach groups could have used some of the funding to help people struggling during the pandemic instead of seeing it go to a police department that too often works against its residents. This is a city that is also is under a consent decree that's already being watched by the federal government because its officers could not follow the law and were already brutalizing its citizens and doubled down on that over the summer. So that money, the CARES Act money, should have gone to our cousins, our families, our family members. This just goes on to talk about this. So I am going to drop this link below so you guys can go read more about this. And I think that I read on another article that the only reason this information even came out, because people are just recently finding out about this, is that during a meeting, I believe a city council meeting, they were talking about the new budget. And so this information uh, started to come out. Now, so you're telling me during the deadliest, scariest, most lethal, stay in the house, hide yourself in a closet, quit your job, close your business, snitch on your neighbor, wear a double mask. We're almost to the point where we're about to anal swab y'all to test you. You're telling me in the midst of this, somehow, some way, the Chicago government found a way to extract $281 million from COVID relief to go into policing after everything we saw in 2020. Not only is that I guess it's a slap in the face to residents that believe, I don't know, maybe they're pushing some needle for it as regards to this talk of defunding the police. But for people like myself, it's just more confirmation of what I tried to spend 2020 telling people. I did live a couple of months ago on another YouTuber's channel, and I literally had a group of men jump down my throat, okay, getting onto me because I told them not only was nothing that Black Lives Matter doing has really worked, but it is really pushing us back in a lot of regards. I was called wrong. Oh, you just so young. You don't know what you talking about. We need to use this momentum to push the needle forward. I'm like, you have relations of people being worse. You have business owners being affected by this. You have politicians that haven't had anything to do with this or have been trying to be helpful, be harassed. You've had the media use this to capitalize off of it and make money off people's emotions. Corporations make money off people's emotions. You have a media that has lied and exacerbated situations to cause more of a frenzy, right? And all of the things that we've seen. And then the response was also, well, we got to take what we can get. At least one city, I think this is where Breonna Taylor is from. Well, at least this one city ended no knock warrants, so that's a win. I'm like, compared to all the freaking losses, there is no win when the entire time Black Lives Matter was only control opposition and only pushing the needle forward for what the entire agenda was the entire time, which was to ramp up police presence, ramp up the militarization of police. In the last stimulus bill, I've already did content about this. I've shown y'all this. In the last stimulus bill, the federal government put more money in it to go towards local policing agencies, specifically for body armor and all these other things. They also use the Capitol. They're going to use the situation that happened at the Capitol on January 6th to also ramp up things like security, surveillance, ramp up law enforcement, ramp up body armor, and the reasons why all of our local enforcement needs to have all of these military tactics and all of this, right? Because of all this domestic terrorism that's happening. That's not a win. That's not a win. Black Lives Matter, the national organization, has been used as control opposition for an ends to a mean. A means to an end. Whichever way it goes. Y'all know what I mean. Okay? They're not the only one. Literally, right in Minneapolis, this just shows you how people were being played. Minneapolis City Council members claim they never said to fund the police. Now, a couple of months ago, people were hip-hopping and hooraying, thinking the police were about to be defunded. We ain't say that. That's what they saying now. Minneapolis backtracks on plan to defund the police after residents' complaints. Minneapolis pushed to defund police backfires after residents complained of slow response times and increasing crime. Minneapolis on Friday backtracked on its original push to defund the city's police department in the wake of George Floyd's police custody death after residents begged the city to hire more officers, citing longer response times and increased violent crime. We've also been talking about the increase in violent crimes. We've been talking about the increase in homicides. What do people think is going to happen when you put people out of work? You've closed these businesses. You've had people standing in freaking food lines. You have people running out of resources. And then you have a media and a government that has exacerbated social issues. You're gonna have a crime increase. That just makes sense. That's just common sense. The city council on Friday voted unanimously to approve $6.4 million in additional funding that police had requested. Minneapolis to spend $6.4 million to hire more police officers. A large number of cops left the department in the aftermath of George Floyd's killing and a protest that followed. The Minnesota City Police Department said it has just 638 officers available to work, 200 and fewer than in the recent years. Several cops quit, retired, or went on extended medical leave, many for PTSD claims after last spring's riots that included a precinct being burned down and calls to end the police force. Some 155 officers remain on some form of extended leave in the months. Since the protest, many residents have urged the city to hire more cops, saying they're waiting longer for responses. So there you have it, folks. In Chicago, $281. They decided to move COVID relief that could have went towards housing, could have went towards businesses, could have went towards food programs, medical facilities, whatever. During the deadliest pandemic of our lifetime. But instead, they switched that money over to go towards policing. Minneapolis ramping up their policing by $6.4 million. The federal government hiding money in the stimulus packages to ramp up policing, increase the capabilities of law enforcement. So they threw y'all a bone, and the whole time it was controlled opposition to fulfill this real agenda, which is more surveillance and more policing. The problem is not with people wanting police officers or the city to be accountable for unnecessary deaths of civilians. That's not the problem. The problem is when these situations are they're being exacerbated. There are being lies. There are being people running with the narratives. And also the most important thing is when these things are being combated by organizations that have that are sponsored by bad faith actors. That you have politicians supporting riots saying, let these people out of jail. Let's create this fund to let them out of jail. And the whole time it's not a grassroots organization. It's not a grassroots organization. It's been pushed by bad faith actors. And it's been heavily used not only for proper propaganda, but to fulfill a certain agenda. And hopefully people that were so happy about the crumbs in 2020 that they were receiving, when I was telling people it's not what it looks like. They're just throwing you a bone. Hopefully people will begin to see what's really behind the moving forces. And I highly doubt these are the only cities that have added to their policing budget, their law enforcement budget. I highly doubt it. But these are two that are somewhat in the media right now. And of course, people are barely talking about it. So those are my thoughts. Leave your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.